This is the best fight on the Riyadh season February 22nd card. I know a lot of people might say this fight or this fight. No, it's Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Israil Madrimov. A fight at 154 that is going to be a slugfest and nothing but fireworks. I know some people might say, hey, Beterbiev versus Bivol too. That was a good fight in 2024. How's that not the best fight? No. Dubois versus Parker, two heavyweights going at it, looking to stay at the top of the heavyweight division. Good, maybe even a great fight. No, not even a young Floyd Schofield going against an elite fighter in Shakur Stevenson and taking that challenge. No, the best fight of this card is what I'm talking about right now. Vergil Ortiz versus Israil Madrimov. Just think about this. This fight not only has implications on both fighters' careers, but the whole status of the 154-pound division. Vergil Ortiz Jr., he's been touted for years as this up-and-coming fighter. This new guy brings fireworks, knocking out everybody, right? All throughout his 147 days, now he's at 54, gets some knockouts. Then is involved in one of the best fights of 2024 against Sergey Boachuk, where he goes down twice. A fight where not necessarily looked his greatest, but he willed it out and was able to get the win. So right now, Vergil has something to prove, while Madrimov shocked the world and really gave Terence Crawford a heck of a fight at his inaugural 154-pound debut. A lot of people didn't know Madrimov coming into the fight. Well, guess what? They knew him afterwards, as some even went so far to say they thought Madrimov beat Crawford. So that's why this fight is so enticing. These two fighters need a win, and with a win, catapults them into superstardom at 154. And guess what? This isn't going to be your typical boxing fight. These are going to be two heavy hitters slugging it out. Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Israil Madrimov, going to be the best fight on the February 22nd card. I'm Luke Backman, and this is the Never Drop Podcast. Make sure you hit the like button, comment below what fight is your favorite on the card, and who do you think wins this fight, Ortiz versus Madrimov? Make sure you smash that subscribe button. As we go back to the fight, let's just look at both fighters really quickly. Vergil Ortiz Jr., 22-0 with 21 knockouts. Again, I mentioned it, he had knocked out every opponent he had seen prior to that Boachuk fight. We'll talk about that Boachuk fight in just a second. Vergil, only 26 years old, height of 5'10", reach of 70 inches. His last fight against Sergey Boachuk came August 10th of last year in a slugfest. Ortiz went down both in the first and the 8th round, as a lot of people thought Vergil didn't do enough to win this fight. It was a back-and-forth match. Vergil was able to rally late. A lot of these rounds, he was able to come back in. Even the 8th round, which he got dropped, came right back up, immediately started fighting. Both knockdowns, I'll be fair to say, were close to flash knockdowns. But still, they proved Vergil, hey, he could get dropped. He wasn't invincible and mowing through opponents like we'd seen in his past fights. Okay, let's go to Israil Madrimov. He's 10-1-1 with 7 KOs. 3 years older, age of 29, height of 5'8.5", reach of 68.5. His last fight, mentioned it earlier, unanimous decision loss to Crawford. He had the WBA title at the time, lost that, so he's looking to get back in the title mix at 154. A lot of people thought Madrimov put on a heck of a performance. Even Turki Al-Sheikh, after he saw the Crawford versus Madrimov fight, he said, nope, I don't want to make Crawford versus Canelo. He saw Crawford didn't look great at it. His power didn't translate. He was getting hit. I don't want to make Canelo versus Crawford because of how good Israil Madrimov fought in that fight. So now we get down the line. Turkey's putting together this huge card. First, Israil Madrimov is supposed to go against Sergey Boachuk December 21st on the Tyson Fury versus Usyk rematch. That fight in and of itself is incredible. Just think about it. The two guys that lost, Boachuk to Ortiz, Madrimov to Crawford, going at it, and then the winner gets another chance at 154 against the top guys. That fight was, everyone was like, that might be the best fight of that card. Madrimov gets sick, I believe, has to pull out of that fight, which was funny because he was actually scheduled to then fight Vergil Ortiz only a couple months later on this card, who was also going to originally fight Boachuk. It was probably for the best. Madrimov said I was sick and said, let me just focus for this Vergil fight, because if I win that, it means a lot more for me. The reward is a lot more than the fight against Bochum. Vergil, on the other hand, he was supposed to fight Jerome Boots Ennis. That's something we can cover in a whole nother video, and I'm sure a lot of people have. But Boots said, I'm not going to 54 just yet, pulled out of that fight. Vergil was left looking for an opponent. Everyone's like, oh, it's kind of late for Vergil to be getting an opponent. Here comes Madrimov in to replace, and here we get the best fight of the night. You just got to look at it from this. Vergil's somebody who's coming forward to knock you out. This is a guy who's going to throw punches on punches on punches, and if you hit him, he's not going to stop coming at you. Even if you floor him, he's going to get up and come right back at you. That's the type of fighter Vergil Ortiz is. Israil Madrimov, he's also coming forward, and Madrimov, he's both elusive and has great head movement. He's awkward. He posed threats for Terence Crawford. Him and Crawford both had incredible IQs and were thinking 2 steps ahead of what the other guy was going to do. That's why there at times weren't that many punches, weren't that many exchanges, because Madrimov was like, oh, if I throw this punch, Crawford's throwing this punch. Crawford, vice versa. So these two guys both are coming forward, Madrimov with the movement, and he's not afraid to throw. They're both good counter punchers. Also, you got to think about that. A lot of punches are going to be thrown in this fight. Who's going to be able to land the clean counter that hits flush and potentially hurts the other opponent? I think that might decide the whole winner of this fight, because they both have solid power. They both have really good power, as obviously Vergil, 21 out of his 22 fights have been knockout wins. Him and Bohacek, while he wasn't able to knock Bohacek out, he really stifled Bohacek's offense at times because of his power and how much he was throwing, the volume he was throwing at. Madrimov, look at Crawford's face after the fight. It was swollen. It was so swole from Madrimov. And Madrimov didn't seem too bothered with the power of Crawford. Obviously, that might be more of Crawford. The dude started at 35, moving all the way up to 54. But he didn't seem too out of pocket with Crawford's power and delivered some good shots himself. Madrimov did a great job. He has a good counter right over the top right, which could play a huge factor in this fight against Vergil Ortiz. Ortiz throwing the left hook. We could see that punch being a huge factor in this, because Vergil has to tighten up his defense. There's times in Vergil's fights where he kind of gets lazy. Because he throws so much, he's on the move doing so many things, might drop his hands. He might try and recompose himself, but he leaves himself open. He has a high guard that allows for body punches. Both guys have high guards. I think the high guards could lead to a lot of body shots and will lead to a lot of body shots. And if this fight gets a stoppage, I might see it because of a body shot. I could see one of these fighters getting around the high guard of the other and landing a body shot. It just puts the other guy on his knee, just unable to really stand up because of the power and because of the good placement. There's going to be shots open on the body for both guys. It's just going to be how much can they take. I think the winner of this fight is going to have to slow the other one down because of body shots. You can't headhunt the entire fight. If you do, 1, you leave yourself open to counters, and 2, while you might slow down the other guy, he can keep going. Body shots cripple you. And so each fighter is going to have to try and land to the body on the other guy to just slow him down. I mentioned Vergil's coming forward. Madrimov isn't afraid to come forward either. He hasn't fought off the back foot too much, and that's something huge in this fight, because Vergil, obviously coming forward, how's Madrimov going to fight off the back foot? We haven't seen it there. Obviously, he had a lengthy amateur career. We haven't seen it too much in the pros. Can he react off the back foot? Maybe throw some counters off the back foot and keep Vergil at bay? Whoever has enough power to kind of chill the other one from coming forward is going to play into their type of fight. If you can't get your opponent to respect your power, they're just going to walk you down the entire night. Madrimov, I mentioned the head movement earlier, the feinting. He feints a lot. And Vergil, he reacts to feints. He reacts and tries to get into different positions. For Vergil, I think he's got to tighten up his defense, obviously keep his hands up, be ready, but also not necessarily fall for the feints at all times. For Madrimov, he comes in looking like he's going to throw a punch. If Vergil reacts to that, Madrimov is going to land another punch. For Madrimov, he's got to be able to get Vergil to respect him. If not, Vergil's going to come forward. I've mentioned it. Hey, the amount of times I've said in this video, come forward, because that's what this fight is anticipating. These two guys are not backing down. For Vergil Ortiz, man, this fight's huge. There was talks before the Boacek fight. Hey, Vergil versus Terence Crawford. It doesn't look great in the Boacek fight. Okay, let's kind of calm those down. Because even though Crawford didn't look great at 54, Crawford's still Crawford, right? For Vergil, he almost had his mini mega fight against Boots Ennis. These guys have been rumored to fight since 47. We want to see that fight in the future. For Vergil at 54, man, he makes a statement here. He's going to get a title shot soon. Think about a Vergil Ortiz versus Sebastian Fundora fight. That'd be incredible. And a fight, not for a belt, but a super fight that Vergil could put himself in front of, an all-out Texas super fight. Vergil versus Errol Spence Jr. I only say that because Vergil's teams brought it up. I don't think Spence would do it, but you have that fight at Cowboy Stadium. Oh my goodness, that fight is sold out. That'd be an incredible fight for Texas and for boxing. That one, I think that's kind of a pipe dream fight, but that's a super fight Vergil's talked about. For Madrimov, he just wants to retain and get back to that championship level at 54 he was at. Right? A lot of people overlooked him, and I don't think Madrimov cared too much because he said, okay, I'll just let my fighting do the talking. And he did that against Crawford. Obviously came up on the losing end of it, but Madrimov put himself in a great position now. You beat a young Vergil Ortiz, oh, you're right back. You might even be better off than you were when you had the title when nobody knew you. You lost the title, gave Crawford a good fight, and then beat Vergil Ortiz. Oh, you're back in boxing and at 54 rankings, probably better than when people didn't know about you. That's why this fight is so interesting, because the styles. Both guys have to win this fight. And we're going to see punches and punches with bad intentions thrown throughout. Again, I think this is going to come down to, can Vergil tighten up his defense? And can he land some good counters? Because there's times where Madrimov is off balance. His footwork is not the greatest. He'll cross over and be off balance, or he'll throw a punch and kind of land back in a certain way where his legs aren't necessarily underneath him. And Vergil has the power to make him pay. Man, I can't wait. I think this fight, again, is extremely good. Any other fight, any other night, this fight would be a main event. But on this card, it's what, the fourth or fifth fight? I mean, it's incredible we're getting this, and we're getting this entire card. If you had to ask me who wins this fight, I'm going to go with Vergil Ortiz. I think Ortiz being younger and the nonstop pressure of Ortiz and just will is going to overpower Madrimov, because I do think Madrimov fighting off his back foot, something I mentioned we have not seen, could cause a lot of problems for him. I think Vergil pushing himself forward, pushing himself into Madrimov's face is going to play a huge role in this fight. And I don't know if Madrimov can really match that intensity for 12 rounds. So for me, I don't know if Vergil gets the stoppage. I'd like Vergil by decision. But this is about as close as fight as you can get, because even when I'm saying that, you can still think about ways Madrimov wins. It's a great fight. I mean, even if it's not your favorite on the card, you're tuning in because it's all action at all the time. Turkey outdid himself with this card, and this is the fight I'm looking forward to, and I believe is the best fight on the card. Again, comment below. Let me know what you think is the best fight on the card, and who do you think wins this fight? Is it going to be Vergil Ortiz Jr. or is Israil Madrimov going to get the W? Again, let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the Never Drop podcast. I got all your information regarding this card, boxing news, all what's happening in boxing coming up. Make sure you subscribe. That's all I got for you today. Peace. I'm out.